Okay, so here I have the same cutting board from our last scene. And if we wanted to kind of paint a wood texture on here, let's take a look at how we would go about doing that. I'm just going to start off and kind of show the manual workflow, and then I'm going to hop into the Power of Substance Painter. So if I was going to start painting this, I would kind of choose a darker color to get started with. Go ahead here, grab a brush. Just grab this kind of artistic brushing, or I'll just start with a basic soft. And if I was going to go ahead and begin painting this cut board as somebody who has had classical classes, let's go ahead. I would start by kind of blocking in one color here. And then I would kind of move up to a mid color there. I'd kind of be I would start with these kind of broad strokes, and then, I would slowly go back and forth and continually add more colors there. Let me lower my stroke opacity there. I'm doing this with a mouse. Normally I would do this with a display tablet and be a lot more impressive. So then I go through and kind of start blocking in colors. Then I would start grabbing more colors like this, kind of building in, and I would just keep working my way up until I got to smaller details and the edge highlights and things like that. Later you'll see a bark texture that I painted in this series and a time lapse of how I did that. So if you'd like to see kind of the process of how I paint, kind of starting with big chunky details and broad colors and then moving in and kind of getting into those tighter details and tight highlights, you can see that it's a pretty time consuming process. And although we can go ahead and paint this any way we like, we could safely say that this is going to take us, between 20 to 45 minutes to paint. So let's go ahead and delete that and look at the Power of Substance Painter. Now I'm going to go ahead and bake a mesh map over here, and I'll be explaining how to do all this later. But for now, I just want to kind of show you Smart Materials and how they work. Come down here to Smart Materials, type in wood. No need to follow along at this point. I'm just going to be kind of showing you kind of a basic overview. In the next section, we'll get into texturing objects, but I can just search wood, grab stylized wood here, and it's going to kind of take a look at everything there. I can go ahead and look at the different maps here, and I'm actually going to choose something that shows off Smart Materials a bit more. So I'm going to grab this wood ship hull old there, and I can now click in here, and I can see that with these smart masks, it's taking this into account for the grunge, and it's taking this into account for some of my edges, and here's some actual edge work. And you can see how with just one click, we have a wood material that looks decent already. Now we can go through here and we can refine all of those settings, and we can go ahead and make this have a lot more character, and we can do some effects to make it look more stylized and things like that. But right out of the gate, we can have a wood material that looks good in export, especially powerful for when it's just a background object and the refinements don't really matter. So you can really see how this can elevate your painting workflow, and that you can take the kind of power of Smart Materials and Smart Mass, and even if you do prefer to classically paint your materials, you can see how you can combine those two elements to kind of really enhance your workflow and still save time. And we'll be going through lots of techniques on how to take some of these materials in the piece and kind of make those look more stylized. And we'll even have a section at the end where we just dive into some techniques on kind of getting a stylized look in Substance Painter with kind of preset effects and things. Now I want to show a bit more of these kind of materials. So let's go ahead here. I'm going to grab a wood material from just the material list. Now the regular materials do not account for your mesh maps and things. So it's just going to kind of splat that material across the overall piece here. So let's just go ahead. I'm going to make this a yellower kind of wood, more of like a bamboo cutting board. And this is just a Wood American cherry material. Now what I'll do is I'll go ahead, I will duplicate this layer. Again, no need to follow along here. I'm just kind of hovering over some of the features that we'll be covering in the next few sections, just giving you an overview here. So I'm going to kind of create a lighter wood there. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to add a black mask. That's going to get rid of that. Now, if I want to use a smart mask, I can right click, add a generator, and go through all the settings, which we'll be doing more later in the course. But for now, I'm just going to grab a smart mask over here. And then I am going to kind of look around these different options and see what I want to work with. I kind of want to do stains and scratches, and this one looks like it has some kind of edge wear. So I'll go ahead, grab that one, pull that one on there. And then we can click this here and see how it's applying. Click back. And you can see that it started to kind of add some edge wear in there. Let's go ahead and make this bottom layer a little more darker to make that obvious. And you can see how with just 2 layers and a smart mask, we have kind of already gotten back to where we were with that smart material. And then if we wanted, we could grab all these and save it as a smart material by kind of grouping them and saving them. So that kind of shows the power of smart masks and smart materials. Now we'll be diving into these throughout the series and kind of talking about different techniques you can use. So with that, let's go ahead and move on to painting our objects.